What's up, fam? We are here on a Friday night just to hang out, talk about a few of the cases that we're following on the channel right now. And listen, it's a chill vibe in tonight's video. Okay, we're going to try to have some fun, even though the content, as I always say on this channel, is not always fun. We got a tank top on, we got a flowered hat on. We're just vibing tonight as chill as we can possibly be, and we're gonna have fun. Okay. Yep. Halloween decorations in the back, Azam. Good catch. Yeah, the bro tank is on, Stace. Yes, everything. All the vibes happening tonight. Okay. We're just gonna hang out for a while. We're gonna talk about these cases. We're gonna hit Brooks. We're gonna hit Vallow Daybell. We're gonna hit Alec Baldwin. We're gonna give brief updates on all three of those cases as people join in. And then we're going to get to the fun part, something I've never done before. We'll see how it goes. If it goes up in smoke, we can adjust and adapt like trial lawyers often do. But I think it would be really fun because I want to get your opinions. I want to get it in real time. I want you all to see what the people are saying, what the people are thinking. So as you come on in, hit that like button now so you don't have to think about doing anything later. So let's talk about these cases, all right? And we're going to start with Brooks. And I've just got some notes on all three of these cases, some minor updates. I think that his behavior in the courtroom has gotten better. And that's not saying much since the bar was pretty low. He's finally obeying and following some simple instructions given to him by the judge, who's given him tons of leeway. He is making absolutely coherent and pretty appropriate objections and cross-examination questions. Now, does everything he says make sense? Absolutely not. And is it so strange to hear somebody either talk in the third person or say, well, did I do that? Did Brooks do that? When he is Brooks. The highlight of the day was cross-examining his ex, where whenever you have to ask the question, did I hit you in the face or did I punch you in the face? It's not going well for you. And he had to talk about that a lot with the first day with his ex's friend and today with his ex. Now, some things that he's doing well is he's taking each individual witness as they are. Some of the eyewitnesses to where the car went in the parade. He said, well, you didn't see who was in the car, right? Right. Okay. Good point. Now kind of move on. He made some points about, I actually think the judge has been incredibly, as nice as the judge has been to him and as lenient as the judge has been to him, the judge is immediately sustaining objections by the state and cutting him off. She stopped him in the cross-examination of his ex. And she, sorry, I'm reading some questions coming in here. She stops him because he was asking the same question over and over again, badgering the witness, asking if she was intoxicated, if that affected her memory, things like that. But in reality, I actually think the judge has made a couple mistakes. And I don't like saying that. I don't try to get clickbait or say, oh, this judge is screwing up. Let's jump into it. I actually think this judge has been great. And the hardest part of her job has been just dealing with the circus. And she's done great with that. But when he was asking, I believe it was his ex's friend, if she was a good friend of the ex's, if they were intoxicated, if they had gone out together, she stopped him after a while and said it was irrelevant. And the judge actually said it without the state even objecting. And I think the judge was completely wrong. And if I was representing Mr. Brooks, I would have said, Judge, this absolutely goes to her. Oh, and then what did she say in the police statement versus what did she say now? Why didn't she say some of the curse words or that they brawled up or chested up or he smacked her to the ground and she got up and smacked him and things like that, right? So that's irrelevant and improperly asking those questions. Baloney, because it's relevant even if it doesn't go to whether or not he drove the car through the parade. But when we're talking about a witness who's taking the stand, who's testifying against the defendant, if he has any way to attack her credibility or show that she's biased against him, he has to be able to ask her those questions. And I think he should have been able to impeach her over and over and over again with her prior statements, her relationship with his ex, how she feels about him, how she thinks about him, whether she's lied before, same thing with the ex. Have you told a police officer you made a false report before? Anything like that. So to me, I think that was a miss by the judge. Okay, so we'll just kind of get that out. But for the most part, a lot of his objections make no sense. I saw this question come in. John O'Rourke, do you see the plaintiff in the room? I see other people asking about, what's he talking about with the plaintiff? I believe he's talking about the state. And I think this is part of his sovereign citizen thing. And that's why they keep objecting, saying, what are you talking about? Because he's plaintiff bringing this case, which is the state. And to me, I feel like he's trying to make this about going against the government and the government's out to get him. That's what I'm thinking. But honestly, getting inside this guy's head is not something I want to do, right? It is very weird and it makes no sense. And I'm sure the jury's picking up on that. Tori, why does he keep asking the judge if she is making a judicial decision? Because this is, again, goes back to him being a sovereign citizen. So he's saying, is this part of the rule of law? Is this a statute or is this a judicial decision? Because I do not consent to that judicial decision. He does not consent to being called the defendant. He does not consent to being called Darrell. So we've seen that throughout the case. Katie, I do not think it went to the level of making that a reversible error. I do not. I don't think the judge has done anything. The judge has been commendable in this case. No judge is going to be perfect throughout an entire trial, especially a trial like this. Suzanne, thanks for the super sticker. So we also saw the judge continue to compliment him for following simple instructions. Sounds like I'm talking to my 6-year-old. Thank you for staying seated when I asked you to stay seated. Thank you for standing. Thank you for following. Thank you for not screaming and having outbursts and slamming things. He has gone back and forth from the other room. But the judge is complimenting him. I think she's trying to continue to give him confidence. I think the state, I think the judge, I think everybody's working together to try and get this case finalized and to the jury. That's what I think is behind all of this. And I think that everybody's doing a great job keeping a good and clean record for appeal at this point. Let's see. Oh, somebody else asked me, I believe on Twitter or Instagram, why are they sitting down while they're making their arguments or questioning the witnesses? Well, that's a judicial preference. That's a judicial decision, right? Thank you, Elizabeth, as well. And if the judge wants you to stand up and make your argument, you better believe you're gonna. This judge also said that they don't have to stand up when the jury comes in the room, which made it seem like the judge usually does have the lawyers do that. But at this time, she's not making the lawyers stand up when the jury comes in the room. And I think she's doing that because she knows that Mr. Brooks may not stand up and the jury could take disrespect from that. So she's trying to protect Mr. Brooks. I also think that he's wearing an orange jumpsuit and obviously coming from prison, and she doesn't want to draw attention to that, having him stand up and sit down a bunch. So I think she is trying to limit the negative bias or attention that may come towards the defendant in this case. Mo, he actually got a video thrown out because it mentioned prior bad acts. I'm assuming that is a motion in limine. Yes, and he's actually won some objections, and he's actually asked some decent questions and got some decent points, which I think is all really good. And the other reason everybody's complimenting him is because they want everybody to understand he's competent. He's not only competent to stand trial, he's competent and able to represent himself as good as anyone can. That's not a lawyer. So this should not be an appellate issue that he doesn't have a lawyer. All very, very interesting stuff. Thank you, Carla. Now a brief update. We're going to transition to Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. The state is fighting Chad Daybell trying to sever the case. The state wants them to stay together, as we know, because they don't want to do this twice. They don't want to waste the money. They want Chad Daybell's case to be continued With Lori Vallow's case, they do not want the media to come in, even on Chad Daybell's hearings, and the judge did not allow the media to come in and record even audio. They said they could get the audio later, which takes days, and half this stuff's not relevant anymore. But to me, this is not going well for Chad Daybell. And I don't think it's really fair. I know a lot of you don't like him, or everybody has their feelings about him. That's fine. I understand that. But to me, the real problem is these are two separate criminal defendants with separate rights, and they need to have their rights protected appropriately. Thank you, Azam. And if you could have gotten them both to trial in a reasonable amount of time where they both were able to present their defense, then I think that would have been fine. But you're not able to do that. And the differing things happening in these two cases, it just cannot continue to delay justice for the victims and potentially for Chad Daybell. Let's not forget the fact that he's innocent until proven guilty. Shalyn Flores, I have a coworker that had something devastating happening, and I gave her your name. She called today and said she was treated kindly and felt like someone listened to her for the first time. So thank you to you and your firm. I really, really appreciate this comment, okay? Because a lot of people have reached out to us from YouTube. It's been amazing. We've been able to help a lot of people. And when we can help somebody, it's amazing. We love it. That's why we do this. There are some people we can't help, and we try to connect to people. There are some kind of cases we don't handle or jurisdictions we don't handle them, and we focus on injury cases, personal injury, wrongful death, nursing home negligence, slip and fall, car accidents. Those are the cases we specialize in, and we've gotten a lot of those from YouTube. I always want to preface everything and just say, be understanding if we can't take your case for whatever reason it may be. Okay, we will always listen to you. We will always try to help you as best as we can. We will always forward your information along. We will always try to find somebody, but there are situations we can't help in. Some people get angry. It's unfortunate, but we are doing our best. We run a real law firm, and we have lots of clients and lots of calls every day, and we try to help as absolutely many people as we can. But it's also, you don't want to be in a situation where a lawyer's taking every case, and a lawyer's like, yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. A jack of all trades is a master of none. I firmly believe that. Thank you so much, Shalyn. I hope I'm saying, is it Shalyn? I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but thank you so much. And I appreciate that. And feel free to give my name, my number, my email to anybody that needs an injury lawyer. Debs June, is it common for a sovereign citizen trial for the opposing counsel to help the other side, especially so much? So strange to me. Love the bats. Thank you. Yes, it is absolutely common for this to happen in these kinds of cases. There was one point where he was asking a question, and it was bringing up, I think, prior bad acts. And he wanted to ask the question. The witness was like, I don't think I'm supposed to answer that. The judge is like, yeah, it's to a prior ruling. He's like, am I privy to that prior ruling? The state attorney went over, muted his mic, helped him there. I think that the male state attorney that's done a lot of the questioning, he did the opening statement, I think he's been great, straightforward, really, really seems like a sharp guy and an honest guy. He whispered in his ear, this is based on that. And the judge is like, you still want to do that? And Mr. Brooks is like, no, I don't want to do that. The bailiff right behind him, which is in the camera angle, starts laughing. The other state attorneys, the female state attorney sitting at the desk, started laughing. So I was like, ugh, that's not great. If there's a juror like you all that understands this process, thank you, April, they may have picked up on that. So I do think that the court personnel needs to try to hold that in as much as they can. I know sometimes you can't help it, but yeah, I have been noticing a lot of that too, and it was pretty funny when it happened. All right, lastly, let's transition just for a couple minutes for a quick update on Alec Baldwin, the Rust case. Civil case settled, criminal case is still going on. The DA and the prosecutors have come out and publicly confirmed what we already knew. The civil settlement will have absolutely no effect on the possible criminal charges. They are still planning on prosecuting up to 4 criminal defendants, including Alec Baldwin. So we are still going to follow that, and we still think that criminal case is coming, which leads us to our main event. Okay, here's what we're going to do in tonight's video, if you all want to. We're going to look at these 3/4, depending on if you think Vallow Daybell is one case. And we're going to look at these criminal defendants. We're going to look at these cases, and we're going to see kind of how we think. And it's interesting because all these cases are in different stages. You have Brooks's case, who's at trial right now. You have Vallow Daybell, who's been around for years, but is still in the middle of a criminal investigation and prosecution. And then you have Alec Baldwin, who doesn't even have criminal charges against him. And I want to ask some questions about what you think about the cases, where you are about the cases. In its opinion, it's speculation. We don't have all the evidence, but there is still thoughts and understandings. We'll call them biases, but they're not always negative biases, right? They can be positive biases, but that you walk into these cases with. Okay? Debbie, yes, it is in the 80s here. It is literally in the 80s here. It might as well still be summer. All right. So I am going to share my screen here, and we're going to see how this goes. I don't know if you want to call it a game. I don't know if you want to call it a crowd sourcing or whatever, or if you want to just call it getting some information. But we're going to play a little game here. And I'm going to leave it up on the screen for a second. If you want to, don't feel like you have to at all. Okay? If you want to, go to the website on your phone or text in the answers. We are going to take some polls tonight, and you're going to be able to see them real time, how this community thinks. We're going to answer these questions. We're going to talk about why we feel the way that we feel. And we're just going to go through and kind of see how we can compare these four cases. The answers to every question are either going to be Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, Darrell Brooks, or Alec Baldwin. Okay? So take a second, go to this website if you want to. You don't have to. So the poll, Tori, and everybody else, if you see at the top, you can either go to this website here, pollev.com/lawyeryouknow019, or you can text lawyeryouknow019 to 22333. So there, it's a little bit bigger. Okay, you see Leah right at the top of the screen. Right here is where you go. There is the website, and then here's the text number. All right? Yeah, how do you pick? I know. Mark, this is the point. We're going to make hard decisions here. And in law school, it's not always about picking the right answer, right? That is what, Stephanie, if you're driving, please don't. Just listen to me talk, and I will read the answers that win. So if we talk about law school, there's many times more than one right answer. And we specifically did not say all of the above and none of the above. We talked about making those as answers, but we decided not to. So I'm going to wait. We're going to let some answers flow in. We've got 10 or 12 questions here to go through. We'll get as many as we can. Yeah. So Carla, if you guys want to, if you don't want to text and if you don't go to the website, feel free to put your answer in the chat. But I also want you to, after you go to this website and answer, again, if you want to, let me know why in the comments. Which person of these four do you think is the most guilty of the crimes charged? That's the question. I see mostly A and C in the chat. Nancy is a new member. Welcome, Nancy. If this goes well, we are going to do more things like this in the future. And I was thinking about going back and doing it with Johnny Depp, Amber Heard case, Rittenhouse, those kind of cases as well. So people are saying she's their mom. People are saying the videos. Why C is the answer. All right. All right. So Chad Daybell is getting some votes, but it is the majority Lori Vallow and Darrell Brooks. A lot of people saying not D. And I think it's interesting, right? Because all of these cases involve death. And when we discuss how these cases work, Alec Baldwin is going to be in the company of these people. Now, it may not be an intentional homicide, but it still is going to be a homicide if he is charged with something because there was a death. All right, let's go to the next question here. Which trial would you most like to watch? No, you can only choose one, American Dreamer. We're making this tough. We're choosing the best answer, like law school. There may be more than one right answer, but we are going to choose the best answer according to you. There are no wrong answers. I just want to know what you all think. I want to know what your opinions are. What is the trial you would most like to watch, to sit there and watch every second of on the TV? And again, we're watching Darrell Brooks right now together. We don't think we're going to be able to watch Lori Vallow. Will we watch Chad Daybell? Will we watch Alec Baldwin? We don't know those answers yet. Emma saying I'm already hooked on C. Katie saying C is like watching. I don't want to say watching a car accident like you can't look away, because that's a bad pun, since that's literally what the case is about. But it's like so bad, that's why people are watching it. It's a different experience watching a pro se defendant, because you're not learning the same things you're learning when you're watching a bunch of private lawyers argue, like in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. But it's a different vibe when it's a pro se defendant and the state is tiptoeing around to make sure they don't step on his rights. It's a very different vibe. All right, let's see where we get. Ooh, 60% want to watch Lori Vallow. Doesn't seem like many of you care to watch Chad Daybell. So Alec Baldwin and Darrell Brooks, they're putting up a good fight, but that is really interesting. So, and this is kind of part of their argument. Again, we're learning a lot. Why? Why do you want to watch A? Why do you want to watch A the most? So that's really interesting to me. And this is part of why they wanted cameras out of the courtroom, because people just seem so fascinated with Lori Vallow. Chad Daybell wants cameras in the courtroom, and look, it seems like maybe it's not going to be such a big deal. John Pryor should screen record this and say, look, people are not nearly as interested in Chad Daybell. So the public should be able to watch it, and it's not going to be a circus. It's not going to be a media circus. Eliza said she wants to know more about Rust. And so watching that trial, you would learn about more. So a lot of people are saying, I want to see Lori convicted. Okay. Understand that. They want to see justice. They want to see her get what she deserves. Okay. That's understandable there. Again, and that's what's interesting, is you all can have different reasons for wanting to see this. All right. Question number 3. If you were a lawyer, let's play lawyer now. You've been playing jury. Let's play lawyer, because you guys have asked me, and I'm going to answer this question as well. Who would you least like to represent? Who would you least like to represent? This one is interesting, because they all come with different issues, right? Ooh, some Alec Baldwin votes already. A lot of Alec Baldwin votes. So if you were a lawyer, and when you think about this, you've got to think about a lot of things. You got to think about how demanding the client may be, how difficult the client may be, how difficult the charges are, what the charges are, right? I mean, Darrell Brooks, let's take him for example. If he's convicted, it's a horrible crime with a horrible result. But is it as bad as what Lori and Chad are charged with? So you have to take that into account. You've got to balance that. You've got to balance, how long it would be, how difficult it would be. Maybe jurisdictions, if any of you guys know what these jurisdictions are like. Lawyer me wants nothing to do with Darrell Brooks. Everybody, or a couple people are saying. All right, let's check the results here, and then I'll kind of give my answer. So it is a close match. Again, Daybell just dead last. It seems like people are not having the same strong, passionate feelings about Daybell. But Lori Vallow and Darrell Brooks are runaway winners here. Brooks being in the 1 slot. And I will say, I don't know if it's because I'm hanging out with you guys or because you're hanging out with me, but this is pretty easy for me. It would be Darrell Brooks. And the reason is, for someone who believes in almost nothing is what it feels like, who thinks that there is just, he can do whatever he wants, or because he says it's true, or people are just going to believe what he says, disregarding instructions, disregarding judicial orders. Those are the types of things that would make me less interested in representing him, because clients like that can get under your skin, can be disrespectful to the court, disrespectful to witnesses, disrespectful to the other side. And they may think that you're instructing him to do that. They may think that you're having this problem. Client control is very difficult. Alec Baldwin would be last on this list for me, because while he would be demanding, there's no doubt in my mind that if he does get charged with anything, it's going to be accidental. And number 3, I think he's got a plausible story. We don't know what happened, but to me, he would be the one that we can really fight for and put a case together on. I think Brooks would be the worst. Baldwin would be the best. And then I'd much rather represent Chad Daybell than Lori Vallow, so it seems so far. Yeah, Baldwin is a narcissist. MNP says he makes a difficult client. I don't think any of these are going to be easy. Don't get that twisted. All right. Question 4. Which person has the best chance at a not guilty verdict at trial? This does not need to be not guilty across the board. Anything they are charged with. Who has the best chance at convincing a jury to vote not guilty? And why? Yeah, Mo, we wouldn't have to rep Brooks. He'd fire us. That's probably true. But Mo would also end up hurting her client if she represented Lori. So, hey, it happens, Mo. It happens. Jackie, how will postponement of Lori's trial affect her Arizona trial? If she's not competent, it's going to pause everything at this point. So everything is going to stay paused. That's where we're going to be. So we'll have to keep watch and wait. All right, let's see where we get here. 93% Alec Baldwin. So let me know why. So Valerie said Alec because there were too many other factors involved. Ooh, Katie with a different opinion. I feel like he's a celebrity and it might be easier for him to get sympathy. See, those are 2 totally different reasons for a not guilty verdict, and both of them can be legitimate. Now, we always ask the jury not to make decisions based on sympathy and based on those feelings, leave that outside the courtroom, but it happens. So people are saying it's an accident. He could still be charged with an accidental killing. So he could still be charged with an accidental type of crime. But I do think it's no surprise that he runs away with this one. All right. Which case do you think ends up getting the most media attention at the end of the day? I know which ones you guys like the best on this channel, and I can rank them for you afterwards, after we get the votes in. But which one do you think is going to get the most media attention? Based on some of the other votes, kind of seems like A may win this one. I was expecting it to be D because of the obvious celebrity. Hannah says C because he's a loose cannon and you never know what you're going to get. It's already on TV during the trial. Other people saying a Vallow Baldwin tie. Ho ho! Who said that? I got to put him up there. Who said the Vallow Baldwin tie? Kristen or Christy RN. The Vallow Baldwin tie almost spot on there. Baldwin is no charge. I hear you, Thomas. This is the point. They're all in different parts of the case, of the criminal sphere here. And that's why I want to talk about it. I want to see if this changes how people feel, because I'm tracking how you guys are answering and not even being charged with a crime, whether you know it or not. It's just kind of an interesting psychological experiment. Whether you know it or not, I think a lot of you think it's easier for Alec Baldwin to be not guilty. And some of these answers are going to lean toward Alec Baldwin because he hasn't been charged with anything yet. Thomas says he doesn't think there will be a charge. That's fair. And that absolutely could be true. But once you are arrested, all studies show, because we get these studies, once you are arrested, people think you are more likely to be guilty than before you are arrested. So it can be the same person, same facts, same everything. They automatically start to think you're guilty as soon as you get arrested, which is why we don't talk a lot about the arrest and why cops arrested them and what the probable cause was and things like that. So it's very interesting. All right, number 6. What case? Now, this is preference here because we're going to have another question later that's more factual and objective. This is subjective. Which case would you least like to be a juror on? Thank you, Sheila. And again, this is not objective, like I couldn't be a juror on this case for whatever reason. This is subjective. Which one would you least like to be a juror on? Because that other question is coming later. Darrell Brooks. Interesting. You'd least like to be a juror on Darrell Brooks. Okay. Why? Let me know why in the comments always. So John said, FYI, through the text option, it only allows one answer and doesn't allow you to answer other questions. You have to keep texting it, I guess, each time. So I guess John is saying, and thank you, John, not mad, just a friendly FYI. You're only allowed to answer one question no matter how many questions. Thank you, John, for letting me know. So I guess we will say, if you can, the website is the easier way. I assume it's better on the website. If it's not, John, let me know. So C, because of all the charges. Oh, that's interesting. So you think it'd be too hard. So you guys are smart. You're thinking about this all different ways. I couldn't do Brooks. JBWK said all the charges. That makes sense. Extra exhausting, somebody said. Rich Cat, I chose Baldwin because it'd be hard for me to put aside disdain for him since he comes across as so entitled. Okay. Brooks seems easy. I want that one. Vallow seems long and painful. Interesting. Yeah, I don't want to see the pictures of the children. I agree with you there. I think that would be the answer for me. It would be Vallow and Daybell. But that is a good point with all the charges for Brooks. Mo, this needs to be a weekly thing. You guys let me know. I don't know about weekly, but we can do it. We can definitely do it more often than never, which is what we've done before, right? Text one response per question, Terry said. Fixed logic, bit like saying most pregnant. You guys are funny. All right. Next question here. What case would you most like to be a juror on? Did we already answer this? I feel like we already did this one. Maybe not. All right. Sorry about that. Which one would you most like to be a juror on? Most people saying Lori Vallow here in the chat. We'll see what the text-in options say. Christy RN saying, I'm learning so much from everyone. Thank you. I agree. This is awesome. Like, this is a lot of good information. And you all are more up to speed and understanding of this stuff than I would say your average person that goes in for jury duty, but all of you actually are potential jurors. And actually people are getting smarter and more understanding about the judicial process. So I think when we go in, they're going to have more knowledge than we're used to. The mechanism of an armorer job is interesting to me. Man, so Baldwin and Vallow definitely are the most interesting to this community and this group. They are spot on, almost tied on all of anything that says what interests you the most. Media attention. I want to be a juror on the case. I'm most interested in this case. I'm most interested in watching this case. Vallow and Baldwin, less public facts about Alec Baldwin. I'd like to see that. So I'll tell you, on our channel, the way it ranks in what you all are most interested in, at least for me talking about, Alec Baldwin number 1, Lori Vallow number 2, no surprise, Darrell Brooks number 3, Chad Daybell number 4. Now, of course, if I say Daybell with Vallow, then it pops up to number 2. But if it's just Chad Daybell, it does much worse, and there's much less interest than a Lori Vallow, and Alec Baldwin, or even a Darrell Brooks. So this stuff is ringing true throughout these polls. Very interesting. All right, now we get to objective questions. And let me tell you a little bit more about these cases to help you answer these questions to see if you would be struck for cause on any of these 4 cases. If you are not qualified to be a juror, it does not mean you don't want to be a juror. It means either A, and this will be a big one, you can't put aside whatever feelings you have about this defendant. So if you've already watched too much, like the Netflix series or all of the Baldwin interviews, and you feel like I've already made my decision, I can't put that aside, then you're out. If you say, my son got hit by a car and was seriously injured or killed, I could not put that out of my mind for the Darrell Brooks case. If you say, my cousin was accidentally killed when a gun went off, so I couldn't do the Alec Baldwin case. I know we had somebody that was, I believe, worked in the entertainment industry, and I know too much about the rules. I couldn't be on the Alec Baldwin case. I'm a mother. I have 3 kids. I could never be on the Lori Vallow case. Rich Cat, I have a general disdain for Hollywood types. Zoe, D, I think it's anti-gun propaganda. That is absolutely a cause challenge. You guys understand this. So it's not just I don't want to be in this case because of the charge or whatever. It's I can't because of something in my past or because a belief I'm too strongly held to. Yeah, A, I listen to too many podcasts, watch too many shows, too many YouTube videos on it. Interesting, yeah. Tammy said, now that you mentioned death by gun, I have to add D. Yeah, these are the questions we ask. So this is the point, right? And this is why a lot of lay people that are in this jury selection process, you can't blame them sometimes for not remember. Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be good on that case. But that's the lawyer's job to explain to you why this case might not be right for you. And regardless of if you think I can put it out of my, I can be fair, but no, I have a personal experience that this is one I cannot be unfair about. Yeah, is that a lot of you probably have learned too much about all of them. You know, I mean that's probably true, but assuming we take that out. Yeah, Joy Smith, I don't think I could do any of them. That's fair. That's fair. But for the exercise here. So Lori Vallow is number 1. Darrell Brooks is number 2. Alec Baldwin is number 3. And I get Chad Daybell is getting less votes because he's in with Lori Vallow. And if it just said Chad Daybell up here, he'd be getting more votes. I understand. But what this does do in this thought exercise, which is something I'm trying to learn and understand, is there's a big difference. Nobody is going out there. Well, I guess 2% of you are. But nobody is going out there and clicking Chad Daybell first. Nobody thinks of Chad Daybell as the worst defendant in those two cases, or the more interesting defendant, or the more culpable defendant in these cases. That is very interesting. And you all are saying something, whether you know it or not, when you click her name immediately first before his. And I realize a lot of you would click both if you could, but when I make you make the decision, you're clicking her name first. And don't change it. Do whatever comes to your mind. Keep giving honest answers. All right. Who has the best argument that their bad acts were unintentional? Okay? So let me put it to you this way. We know Alec Baldwin is going to say it was an accident. Darrell Brooks so far has argued this was accidental. Either Lori or Chad could say, I didn't know what the other person was doing. So while I was in this conspiracy, it was accidental. I thought we were building the new church for the 144,000 that Chad was going to lead us all into, the new heaven and the new earth. There are arguments that all of them could make that these were not intentional killings. Darrell Brooks hasn't said his argument yet, but he asked the cops, did it look like it was driving directly at the people? Did it look like he was driving with the intent to hit somebody with the SUV? Did it look like the driver was doing this? Were people just walking in the street as well as on the sidewalks? So he is making those arguments even without making them. No surprise, 98%. No surprise at all. All right. Whose lawyers, and Darrell Brooks does have a lawyer himself, whose lawyers do you think would be most likely to convince you of their innocence throughout the trial? So as you've looked at these cases, let's assume the lawyers are going to pick the arguments that you find most convincing. Whose do you think would be able to convince you of their innocence, and why? Let me know. Why? A lot of D's coming through. A lot of D's coming through the comments. Why? I have not seen another letter than D come through the comments. Let's see if this is like 100% here. 91%. Chad Daybell. Wow. John Pryor getting some votes. Let me know if you answered B. Let me know. So do you all think that there is a real argument that Lori Vallow was the mastermind and forced Chad Daybell to do this? Okay, Jennifer B said, okay, so Patma said accidental. Jennifer B said money, money, money. Money talks, high-powered attorneys talk. Baldwin will have the best attorneys. He'll have a team of highly competent lawyers. So what we're learning here from the crew is that when you represent yourself, lay people like you all, potential members of the jury, don't see that as a good thing. But when you have high-powered, competent, well-spoken, articulate, experienced lawyers that show up and know what they're doing and try the case, you have a better chance of winning. Right? We're learning that by not asking that question. We're learning it with the why you picked the answer you did. Now, a lot of you are also saying plausible deniability. He has the best argument that it was an accident, that he was innocent, that he didn't mean to do anything, that other people were involved. Mark, yep, you could convince me Chad just didn't know. This is so interesting to me. And this, I think, is why Chad wants out. Sever these cases. This is a very small bit of anecdotal evidence as to why Chad Daybell needs to be severed from Lori Vallow, in my opinion. Vicky, yes, Baldwin's lawyers know what to do. All right. One or two more here. I think one of these may be a duplicate. All right, here we go. Who is most likely to take the stand in their own defense? So if all these go to trial, who do you think is most likely to take the stand? Will Darrell Brooks take the stand as he is his own lawyer? We saw Trevor Summers represent himself. He did not take the stand. We saw Ronnie O'Neal represent himself. He did not take the stand. Because while initially I would think C is the answer because he wants to tell his story and say his side, you're able to make a lot of comments and a lot of arguments and testify as your own lawyer without actually taking a stand and subjecting yourself to cross-examination. So I think C could take the stand, right? I think it's possible any of these people take the stand, but there's a clear answer to me, and it's not C. Because C is going to be able. So yes, Gen T, can he take the stand if he's representing himself? Yes. And the way that looks is he sits on the witness stand and he just gives a narrative. He tells what happens. If anything is objectionable, the judge will stop him. The state can object. The judge can instruct him on things. But he absolutely can take the stand, give his side of the story. Then the state gets to cross-examine him. And Mo, we're in lockstep here. Baldwin for sure. He's a performer to me. That is the clear and easy answer is Alec Baldwin. Let's see if you agree. Yes. 60% of you. Wow, okay, this is interesting too. So Lori gets no votes, so people think she is a lot less likely to take the stand. Chad Daybell, I actually think, is a pretty good vote, right? I'm not sure if he was a pastor, but he's a writer and he's a speaker in front of people, and he was trying to gather his 144,000 and be a leader of whatever it is he was starting. So he's a sneaky good answer here that he would want to take the stand and explain himself. Now, the problem with him is they're going to have a lot of impeachment testimony from podcasts. And, Roxy Chick did say A. Okay, so there are some people that said A. I guess it wasn't big enough to get 1%. Very interesting, though. John, this is the response I received from the text option. You can no longer respond to this activity. It allows you up to one response per participant. To clear your answers, text clear undo. Friendly FYI. Thank you, John. Appreciate you making it easier because I'm sure a lot of people have the same exact question. So I appreciate he's not being annoying. I appreciate this. And a lot of people probably have that same exact issue popping up. So I've never done this before. First time, in case you can't tell. So I appreciate John and everybody that's helping out. All right. Let's see if there's one more. Oh, yeah, this is good. Who will have the shortest jury deliberation? So we talk about this in every case. The jury goes out. They deliberate. Yes, one response per question, Terry. Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah, John, you can only respond once per question, so you have to wait till the next question before you can answer again. So thank you. So this could be either way, right? If you think it's going to be a quick not guilty, that's the one you pick. If you think it's going to be a quick guilty, that's the one you pick. But overall, regardless of verdict, this does not say who will have the quickest guilty verdict. Who will have the guilty verdict? Interesting, Katie. The first one that popped into my head was also C. But I'll tell you if I agree, because you're right. There are so many charges for C. So many charges for C. C, a landslide victory. A landslide victory for C. And I'll tell you what, 77 charges is a lot of charges. But I'm going with C as well. Now, I'm not going to be swayed by the 77 charges because I think this jury, when they sit through this trial and he makes it excruciatingly long, I think they are going to go down the line guilty, 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 guilty. But I do think Lori Vallow is a close second. I don't think Baldwin's would be quick. I think there's a really good chance he gets a not guilty verdict, but those usually aren't quick. They can be, but they're usually not super quick, not as quick as just guilty across the board. All right. So that's it. That was just a little tester to see how you guys liked it. Can you let me know what you thought about that? Let me know if you enjoyed it, if you didn't, whether you used the poll, whether you used the comments, totally fine, because I was looking through the comments. We were reading through the comments. Awesome. That makes me so happy. A lot of like this, loved this. Linda, thanks for doing this. It's fun. Thank you so much, Linda. Azam, this is fun, Peter. I'm learning a lot here. And that's the point, right? We love to learn a lot. A lot of people use the poll. We had about 100 people-ish voting on the poll. We had another 500 in here commenting, which was awesome. Takes a little extra setup and time to do this stuff, but if you all like it, P-Hop said we should do this more often. Let's do it more often. And I like kind of comparing these cases, and I learn a ton. It helps me in jury selection and preparing our cases and talking to our clients and saying, this is what people think. This is what they want to see. So we can do this a lot of different ways. Tanya, loved this interaction / poll. Doesn't YouTube have poll options for content creators? Yes, it does. No judgment, just wondering, might be easy for everyone to participate. I agree with you, but it's not as easily integratable and seeing real time and sharing here in StreamYard. I looked at that a little bit. This seemed easier, and it seemed to go pretty smooth. Mo saying use your own cases. Well, you never know. You never know what little tidbits I have added in and asked questions about. There was the end of this. Thumbs up. Don't know if it works on phones, though. Yeah, I'm not sure either on that, Tanya, but I appreciate it. Again, I love the constructive criticism or anything that you guys are letting me know that makes the videos better and the channel better. I will always be all for that. So I appreciate that. Always appreciated. People are saying very educational. I agree. It was educational for me, too. And we can talk through these cases. It was a really fun Friday night. It was about an hour. So I appreciate everybody coming on here, doing this with me. It was really fun. I appreciate all of you so much. If you enjoyed it and you want more polls, hit that like button, share the video with your friends so they can see how the polls turned out. And until next time, you all be safe out there, and I'll see you on the flip side.